Everyone, it's the Rundown. Brandon Worth here with Joe Nagy out for today, but we have an even special guest joining us here, head coach of the girls varsity basketball team here at Big Rapids, Jess Haist joining us. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. So on this show, we'll talk a little bit more about the girls basketball team, and obviously we'll get into your team, CSAA, as well as kind of the postseason implications as well. But really to kind of start off, obviously your team going into a battle here Friday against a really good Molly Stanwood team, top the CSAA table. But just talk about the season so far for your team right now, sitting at 5-5 as we're recording this, and especially really kind of the little bit slower of a start, but you guys have really picked it up over the last 5 games as well, going into these last couple games as well.
Yeah, I think we had, obviously we had a slow start. We had some tough games to start the season off and expected, we're dealing with lots of new kids and a lot of kids that didn't really have a lot of court time playing experience, got a couple of young kids, and knew that it was going to be a little bit of a process to kind of get things rolling and get people to feel comfortable with what we expected them to do and really what varsity basketball was all about. So definitely wasn't unexpected, still, frustrating at the time and difficult, but I felt like right before break, we were playing some really good basketball. Benzie right before break was pretty solid team effort. And then we had like a month off basically. And, you're just doing a lot of practicing, trying to get back on track and things, I mean, we've lost a couple here, but I wouldn't say that overall we've lost that. I think we're still building, we're still getting better, and we're seeing good things every night, which is what we want.
Absolutely. And with the start of the season, obviously you guys didn't get out as hot of a start as you probably would have liked, losing the first three. After that Sparta game, you guys really turned it around with that win starting at Comstock Park, then in CSA play against White Cloud. What was really kind of was there that turning point or a spark of change that you guys made, or just something in the locker room, or what really kind of triggered that turnaround?
Well, I think even, we lost that game to Sparta, but it was not a game where we walked away from and we were like, wow, we got a lot to do. That was a good building block. I felt like, we've always played some of those Grand Rapids area teams to try to give ourselves some tougher competition. And some years that goes better than others. In that game against Sparta, even though we lost, I felt like we walked away and we thought, all right, we felt good about what we did. And then we kind of put it all together at Comstock Park and really took it to them, and same and kind of carried that on into White Cloud and Benzie, where I think things looked really good. And I don't know that it was really a specific, actual game or something that happened. I think it was just time. We started later than the boys this year, which was different. We're kind of spoiled. We're used to having the gym all to ourselves when we get started. So I felt like we were really rushed, just like everybody else. That Thanksgiving week fell that first week of tryouts and starting the season. And for teams of mine for the last couple years, we've just basically been everybody's been coming back. So you're just kind of, picking up where you left off. And it didn't really matter that you had a shortened amount of time. Whereas this year, it was just we didn't have enough time. We had stuff we didn't have in. We hadn't really had an opportunity to explore every scenario that we might run into. And so I felt like when we got to that Sparta game, we were finally, 3-4 weeks in, and we were kind of gelling, understanding what was expected, what practices were supposed to be like, and so I would say it was more just a progression of time.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned it, especially from last year's team. I feel like a lot of fans they're looking at the 5-5 record and saying, "Wait, wasn't this a team that went to the regional final last year and lost to Houghton?" But just talk about especially, I think especially a lot of these fans didn't realize how much of a turnover from last year's roster. All of those experienced seniors,
Yep.
especially from that last year's team, and now this year with a bit of a younger group, a little bit more inexperienced as last year's group. But
Yep.
just talk about their development so far, especially from the early on practices in the fall to now where we are here at the end of January.
Yeah. Well, we graduated 8 seniors last year. 3 of them had been on the varsity for 4 years. Riley and Hannah started for 4 years. Kelsey, 4 years. That's a huge advantage you have when you have those leaders that come back year after year and they set the tone for expectations and what they expect out of their teammates. And I always I joked a lot about Riley and Hannah being the coaches on the floor, but they didn't miss a beat. They knew what was expected year in and year out, and they showcased that for their teammates. And whereas this year, Marissa Warren, as my 4-year senior, was really the only kid coming back with an exorbitant amount of court experience, as a 4-year starter. She was definitely somebody who we needed to depend on, but along lines there, you had Kaylin Noop, who was coming back for a 4th year, but probably didn't, because we were so strong with the class above her, probably didn't see as much playing time as she would have liked. And we probably should have given her more at those times. So really, we're just dependent on Marissa to kind of get things rolling and pull them together. But from there, not a lot of game experience and court experience. And really not the same core group that's put a lot of time into their basketball game like we've been used to over the past several years. So that was a big change. So it wasn't just about understanding, what my expectations were, but it was kind of getting back in the gym and getting the ball in your hands and do some of those things that maybe kids hadn't done since last March. And that's not something that we really have been used to.
For sure, and especially kind of approaching the last half of the season here. What is really kind of the outlook on what you guys want to do over the next couple of games? Obviously, we'll talk about postseason here in just a little bit, but finishing out the regular season really on a strong side is what every coach aspires to, right? It's not how you play in
Sure.
December, and it's not how you play in November. It's how you play in March and February. So when it comes down to you, especially coaching and practice and a lot of things you guys are working on, what are some of those things you're trying to implement, trying to perfect on going into those later months once postseason comes around?
Well, I think, you know, I was just having a conversation with Marissa here earlier today. I think the biggest thing has just been mentality. She has a mentality similar to how we would like to see all of our athletes. She steps on the floor and competes and is going to do anything we ask her to do in practice and in games. And she is trying to lead her teammates in that same way. And that part is the biggest learning process. Just yes, it's a game for sure. And we want to have fun and do those things, but winning is fun and competing is fun and leaving it all on the floor. So we walk off the floor every night and feel like we've given it our best effort, including at practice. And so trying to keep practice elevated. I feel like we only played 10 games. We've had a couple games canceled, rescheduled. And so here we're sitting with a month left in the season and 12 games to play still. So we have a lot of basketball to play. We lost to Grant last week. We had a terrible first half, 8 points at halftime. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like what? I don't even know where to go. And we came back out and we played an excellent half of basketball and we're in the game at the end. Even Kent City, we didn't hit shots that we wanted to hit, but I didn't feel like we played poorly. And so right now where we're trying to get the kids is to understand that we're coming to practice every day to improve, to work hard, to take it seriously, that we're not ready to lay down and be done. We're going to make an impact in the conference run, wherever that may be, get a chance to play at the end of the season for a district. None of our games that we have lost have been, so out there that they weren't winnable, that they weren't doable, that if we made some tweaks, did some things different, that we could have been in we would have had a different opportunity at the end of the game. And so that's what we want. We want an opportunity to compete for a win at the end of every game, no matter when it happens. So a lot of basketball left to play, and we've just got to show up every night and keep working.
Absolutely. And to touch especially on some of the individual players, I know you mentioned most of them very often here, especially one of your star players. Just talk about the development of some of the younger players as well, some of the new faces in the starting five and even on the bench in some key roles. Just talk about their individual play and the improvement that you've seen from them, especially here over the first half of the year.
Yeah. So again, I've got Marissa Warren and Kaylin Noop that come back as for 4 years. They're our senior leaders. Very different style of play, but depend on them for lots of different things. Marissa ends up in every position, which is good and bad. We probably take advantage of her athleticism and what she's able to do, which also keeps her from scoring sometimes because she's in different spots. So we're working on and trying to feed her more in the post and get her in scoring position. Kaylin Noop is 6 foot forward for us and has a nice soft touch around the basket. And she just works hard and does what we ask her to do. And we're hoping that she can step up and stay strong inside. That's the biggest thing she needs to do, is just realize that, she's tough enough to handle that pressure inside, because, she's 6 foot and she is a shot influencer and has the ability to do some really nice things inside for us. And then we have Hadley Fox, who's a junior. She's back for her second year and she's got the ability to knock down some big shots. She rebounds well, takes the ball to the hole well. And so she's pretty consistent for us. She can play a little bit inside and outside. and she played last year as well. She was up with us last year and got some minutes. And then we have Grace Pinkham and Zoe Taylor, who are seniors, and they kind of rotate the starting position depending on the night. Grace shoots the ball pretty well. She's put some time into developing her shot, and so we like to see her hit some more shots down the stretch. And Zoe is just that kid that's the workhorse that busts her butt on defense and causes chaos and steals and stuff because she just doesn't let up. And then also in our starting lineup is freshman Nalea Fricky. She's obviously here her first year on varsity, and she's running the point guard for us 95% of the time. And she's doing some really good things, and we're excited about her future. She's quick and shifty and takes the ball to the hole well. And we're taking some lumps, obviously, with the freshman, but she's picking up things fast as far as decision making skills and what our expectations are for her. She works hard, and we're excited about that. And then Kaylee Knopf is also a freshman we brought up midway through here off the JV team, and just trying to get her more experience at the varsity level so that when we graduate our 4 or 5 seniors, we've got some people to fill some gaps. And then we've got a good set of juniors and a sophomore in Ava Clapp and Bryn Courtwright and Reese Mortensen that they're showing improvement every day in practice, and that's the goal, so that eventually they can become some impact players on the floor as well. And then lastly, I have Amaya Pittman. She's a senior who took a couple years off, and she just wanted to join the squad, and she's a great teammate and is there every day doing what we ask her to do. So I think that covered
Absolutely.
them all. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got them all
everybody.
in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's got the role, and obviously,
yep,
you as a coach know that is more important than ever. Everybody's in their role
yes.
for sure.
You know, yeah, go ahead. I
No,
was
you go
just
ahead.
going to
Yeah.
say, I think that's one of the things, regardless, we don't like to lose. We want to compete, but our culture and our kids, they do understand their roles well. And it doesn't mean that they're always happy with it. But when you watch our bench, there's a couple pictures somebody took Friday night. Everybody's engaged in the game all the time. They understand that they accept it and they support each other really well. And so that makes, some of those tough losses a little bit easier when they can pick each other back up and they're willing to do that. And so that's the part that I appreciate most, I think, about our kids and our program is that they do buy into the culture and what is expected of them. And they do it, and they know what needs to happen for that to change. So I do appreciate that from them the most.
Absolutely. But kind of shifting over to the postseason now, obviously a lot of conference games still on the slate for you guys here for the second half of the season. But especially right now, sitting in seventh, but as many people following the CSAA standings as far as on the girls' side know, I mean, from fourth to seventh, there's a game. It's
Yeah.
whoever gets the best on that week, and especially at that last week of February, that's going to be able to find that fourth spot. When it comes down to your outlook on the conference, especially you see Morley, Grant Reed City up there at the top right now. A lot of teams right in the middle that you guys are fighting with: Kent City, Central Montcalm, Lakeview. When you look at the conference as a whole, and as far as your guys' schedule, just talk about kind of the outlook you guys have on this, where you're at right now, and especially where you want to be here at the end of February.
Yeah, I think the conference standings, as far as the top of the conference, look just the way I would have expected them to. Morley was bringing everybody back. They're well coached and prepared, and they're playing like that. They're playing like they have the experience and the confidence that comes with having everybody back. And so that will obviously be a game tomorrow night where we're going to have to show up when the tip goes up. We can't wait till the second half like we did last week. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. And I think as far as the next several there, Kent City, Grant, Reed City, they're all competing for the top. Again, a lot of kids back with a lot of experience. Reed City's kind of taken their lumps the last several years, and they've got those kids back that have kind of bought into what they're doing. And you can see that on the floor. They play hard, and they're scrappy and well coached as well. In Grant and Kent City, Grant has always hit or miss, and we saw the other night for them just kind of the tale of two halves, and they've got several kids with the experience back. And in Kent City, I would say, with the Gears girl, she's the best player in the league. She's a Division I basketball player, super athletic and skilled, and we saw that the other night. But I think things have changed there a little bit too. And even playing Kent City and playing Grant, we were competing. Reed City we saw really early. You just never know. So our hope is that we can work our way in. We're a couple games behind, I believe, some of the other the other teams towards the bottom. So if we can kind of work our way up, that's what we want to do. And again, just giving ourselves the best chance to play at the end of the month and be ready for that district tournament and the conference tournament and see what we can do.
Yeah, you just mentioned obviously district play will be kind of off the mind. Obviously, you want to get to conference the end of regular season in the conference tournament as well, which you guys
Yep,
did very well last year,
yep,
winning that first inaugural tournament, which is
yep,
an awesome format, by the way.
yep,
But when it
yep,
comes down to district, obviously, right now the five teams you guys seated are right about in fourth with the Michigan Power rating. Obviously, as you mentioned, you guys are a couple games behind, which once you get that win percentage up, it will go higher. But when you
yep,
see a little bit of the district, obviously, saw some teams like Reed City already early on this season. Chippewa Hills, you guys will play later on as well. You have Hart as well, a
yep.
lot of teams that have been over the years. Just talk about the outlook you guys are looking at the district and especially kind of where that's going to be headed for your team once we get past the CSA tournament.
Yeah, well, I think heading into the tournament here before we get there, there's some other big matchups that still have to happen in the league. I think it could change. I think the order and the way things are right now may shake up a little bit, and that those top 4, 5, 6 teams, and so that'll be interesting to see. And you kind of hope on any given night that somebody else might win off and go off and shake that up a little bit. Headed into the district, you're looking at Reed City. We saw them early, and they're going to be a team to compete with. Hart, I think, is standing at number one right now in our district lineup, and they've got a good player, the Hovey girl over there, and good supporting cast of good basketball players and a traditional program that they're used to winning. So they're going to be tough, and Ludington, comes in tough also. They play good competition and try to get those non-conference games. So I think that while our district is tough, I also think it's a winnable district. I think it could go to anybody. So we want to be there, and we want to do what we can do between now and then to be prepared to have a chance to fight for that trophy at the end of the week.
Absolutely. One last question for you, Coach, before we
Yep,
let you go. Obviously, preparing for the big game here against Molly Stanwood here on Friday,
yep.
but especially for you, looking at where you guys want to be talking about the conference, the district tournament. What's the number one key you think that your team needs to do or really kind of needs to buy into over the next month to be able to play your best basketball, compete for championships, and make those Cardinal fans just remember a fantastic season with your group?
Well, I think we got to play hard and we got to play physical right from the get go. I think sometimes we need to be convinced that we have to get up in somebody's face and play defense, and we let people body us up a little bit more than we should. And the response last Friday to Grant was good. I felt like they kind of manhandled us the whole first half. We came back in the second half and we took it, and then we bodied up also. So we got to play physically, and we can't shy away from that. That's number one. And the two others, take care of the basketball. Turnovers have been an issue that comes with inexperience and in being in different positions, and so we've got to take care of the ball. And then the easy one you'd think would be put the ball in the basket. We've struggled with that at times, some especially from the outside. And we've got to do that. Like, the kids are going to work hard. They're going to play hard. They're going to show up and give us everything they have every night. But it's those other pieces where we've got to elevate our game a little bit and take care of the basketball, especially the unforced turnovers, and then make some easy buckets, because they do count down the stretch, and that helps close out the gap on some of those tighter games. So
Well, all right. Well, thank you so
awesome.
much, Coach, for your time, and we wish you the best of luck here over the last stretch of the regular season and the postseason. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's going to conclude the rundown. Be sure that you guys check out on social media on Big Country 100.9 weekly CSAA basketball, and we'll have all the coverage for you. CSAA girls and boys hoops. It's going to be fun. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
Awesome.